Bung, 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 bung. Welcome to episode 1. Episode 1, here it is, of the Our Sky Community Podcast. Or rambling, or podcasty thing, or bikecast, whatever you want to call it. It's my biking rambles about No Man's Sky on my way to work. And you've caught me on a glorious Tuesday morning. Sun is shining. It's hardly any wind. And here we go. So my name's Aaron, or Uyghur the Farmer. And sort of the sole contributor at this point to the Our Sky community, but who knows, maybe one day that'll be more. If you have some rambles, if you have some thoughts, why don't you hit us up on Twitter at Our Sky Community, or you can just find us on the web. It's all the web, but the website at Our Sky. Oops, there's a car passing. Noisy cars. oursky.space, and from there you can find Facebook and Twitter and the podcast and I don't think I'm going to ever run a forum, because there's a great one that's been started, and it's at the No Man's Sky, and some really great people on there. I've delved into the subreddit a bit, and the subreddit is, well, typical Reddit, highs and lows with no really good form of discussion. But this forum seems like it's a real great place, and some really interesting discussions and things that probably should get rambled about, like what would you do if you ran into another player in No Man's Sky? Would you even recognize a player? Would maybe the system only tell you it was a player after you killed them? What if you'd never killed a player? Would you ever know it was players? Those are kind of neat discussions. And I kind of hope that my biking thing is going to be discussions about those kind of things. And as we explore and discover the universe together, then I'm sure all sorts of different discussions will come up. One of the things that I hope to do, this is more of a technical side of things, is I'm going to get a fluffy covering for my lapel mic so that it cuts out wind noise. There's no way I'm going to get rid of the cars rushing by me noise, but I can get past the wind noise. And Optic Nerve Explosion is the owner of Fierce Sound, has sent me some recommendations, and or a recommendation, so I'm going to check them out and get this little fluffy thing and see what happens. So, episode 1. I'm going to sort of talk about what I think is important about No Man's Sky and its connection with, I think, is the future of gaming. And we're going to start with a book that, if you haven't read, you must read or you must listen to, narrated by the one, the only Will Wheaton. But it's Ready Player One. And honestly, that book has changed and spoiled and shaped me as a gamer, shaped me as the way that I want to see games. And so far there is no game that is even close, with, I guess right now, the exception of possibly No Man's Sky. So without spoiling much, the underlying premise of the book and its world is there is a company that creates a universe, a gaming universe called the Oasis, And similar to Second Life, that basically you don't live your physical life in the Oasis, but everything is in the Oasis. School is in the Oasis, your games are in the Oasis, and you have basically VR headset and haptic gloves. And you go to school, you just put on your headset and you can travel to the school planet. And yes, I said that right, school planet. And if you want to play a certain game, you go to that particular planet, or if you want to go exploring. But all interplanetary travel costs credits. And you can kind of see where I'm getting to in terms of No Man's Sky. Anyway, it just so happens that really you don't need any other game. Like, this is almost like you have the real world and you have the game world. And it's not to say there's not different games, because they are. But it would be sort of like if you want to play Halo, you travel to the Halo world. If you want to play Elder Scrolls or Skyrim, you travel to the Skyrim world. And it's a real universe, it's living, and that's where I think sort of No Man's Sky comes in. I see it as the underpinnings, the basics, the first stab at something that would lead into a system like the Oasis. And the reason I say that is because we have a system where at a press of a button an entire new universe can be created with new rules, new configurations, and that everyone in the world can have that exact same instance of the universe. And it's like the holodeck. It's generated as you stand. There's no loading. Everything is generated by an algorithm. And so every time that you appear in a certain area, it just generates. And when Sean Murray, the founder of Hello Games, was asked if you could apply the same algorithm that's at a universe scale to an individual planet. So right now planets are done with the algorithm, but they're more like a single biome, a single weather system. They're big planets, but it's like the planets are limited. But what if you could take the randomness that's done in the universe and the variability and make a Skyrim game? Apply that formula and make a Skyrim game on one of the planets. And Sean didn't say no, and in fact, he was very open and welcome to the idea. And I find that when game developers don't outright say no, they're definitely not saying no. They're not saying yes. But I think Hello Games is changing the perception of maths, changing the perception that you need 500 people to manually craft a world. Of course, we're going to see, no one knows except for some demos. But if you can, with a team of 10, and really started with one, just Sean in secret, if with a team of 10 you can create a game that creates the underlying foundation of an entire universe, it only seems to make sense with scale, or possibly even no scale, that you could apply that to a single planet. And in fact, I could even see the possibility that that could happen in-game. Imagine if there was a way of discovering a planet, possibly seeing that it's an ice, sort of a Nordic world, naming that world Skyrim, and having an ability to modify the maths, to add the maths, to make adjustments to how the algorithm works on that planet. Now, traditionally you would call that modding. I don't think that's modding anymore. It's not really hacking, it's terraforming. We're given these planets with basic, the rules of the universe, and it's up to us to see what we want to do with it. So, back to Ready Player One. I think a lot of the things that hold back the gaming industry is the fact that every studio has to recreate the universe. They recreate how gravity works, they recreate how collision works, they recreate how jumping works, how shooting works, how blocking works, how menus work. And although that's fine and good, what we are not able to spend time on is we're not able to spend time on the game itself. We're always universe building and never game building. Take Destiny, probably the game that I've spent the most hours on. And Destiny is, could be the best game ever made in terms of combat, in terms of a first-person game, a Halo game, blending the worlds of an MMO and an RPG and a looter shooter and kind of competitive PvP, although it's not competitive, it's not esports, but I've seen some matches. Oh, that one with Grenadier Jake and I know the name escapes me, but I'll tweet it out. That game was unbelievable. It was tense, and if it could have been shoutcasted, it's esports right there. Anyway, I digress, which I am known to do. Oh, and here's the big King Street hill, so if you notice me extra panting, that's the reason. So, what was I saying? Right, game building. So the whole game building thing, if Destiny, if in its amazingness, could have had the solar system and all the intricacies, the gas planets, the rings, the planets, all those things generated at a click of a button, and planet to planet traveling, and space stations, and creatures, and living worlds. And if you could take that, and then you as the game developer could become like the traveler, and you appear in the solar system in this basic No Man's Sky solar system, and you could terraform it and create a game on top of it just by modifying some maths. Maybe even adding textures. But imagine if other game companies could update the graphics. Like, we look at the graphics of Destiny and they're mind-blowing. You look at the graphics of any game, The Witcher, all these games, they're mind-blowing. And what takes time is not the art, yes, but it's the placement of the art. And with level load times, it's because you're loading the entire level. I just, I see the Souls games, and I think what From Software has done right is that every one of the Souls games is basically the same. There are some tweaks to the formula, but it's one coherent world. Like, it would be so possible to have a solar system or just a world that would be the souls and the bloodborne. And like, so they're doing it right, because every game, it may not be better, it may not be worse, but if you like Souls, you're gonna love those games. And I really hope that the basis of what Hello Games is making ends up being that it ends up being this baseline of a universe. So, those are my thoughts. And, well, let's talk about what I see the future of this podcast being. So I want it to be a community podcast, and what do I mean by that? Will I have interviews? Maybe. Maybe not. Will I interview people? Oh, I don't know. I'm not great with names. I'm not great with those kind of facts. I'm great at dreaming. But if there is a person in this community that is dying to interview, then come on, turn on your mic, press record on your phone or Audacity or whatever you want, and do an interview. If you want to record a Discord chat, then do that. It's kind of like, and submit it. Become part of the community, join the No Man's Sky forum, and just start posting. Start sharing, and we can bring up topics like, what if there's no way of knowing that another character is a human player or an NPC? How would you behave in the world? Would VR be appropriate? And what are the implications of VR to gamers' lives, to family lives, as it pertains to No Man's Sky or other games? I don't know. Anything. If you could spend your entire time playing No Man's Sky on a single planet, like people have done in Fallout, staying in the same town, what would that be like? Could there be multiplayer ships that you have to crew together? What if you could spend your whole life sitting behind a booth? What if the entire No Man's Sky is populated by AI? And when you join the game for the first time, you take the place of one of the AI, like the Matrix. What if, as Elon Musk has said numerous times, that we are most likely living in a simulation? We are living in a world like No Man's Sky, and the chances that we are the base reality, that we are not a simulation, is 1 in billions. And if we were living in a simulation, would you behave any differently? And that could then go to say, how are you going to behave in No Man's Sky? Because it's a simulation, it's a universe, it has systems. Will you be an asshole? Or will you just try to get along? If you see another human player once in a year, will you blow them out of the sky, or will you wave hello or just a nod and realize that they are on their own adventure and you're on your adventure and you'll probably never meet again? And those are questions. And those are questions which could be topics, which, when they're answered in the game, we don't need to talk about them anymore. But I think speculation. So I'm going to do speculation, and other people can do speculation. And maybe I'll do some streaming. And I definitely, my goal in this is to have an output, is to have something to do as I bike into work. It is to have a way that I can have a stream of consciousness talk, because it's important for my speech, because I have a really bad stutter. And to do that. It takes me about 20 minutes to bike into work, so 20 minutes is probably going to be the time that I have to spend, and we'll go from there. So, again, my name's Aaron, Uyghur the Farmer, and I'm right now representing at Our Sky Community, or oursky.space, and everything that has to do with that. It's definitely 100% a spin-off, a branch, a child, a sister, a cousin, whatever you want to call it, of Destiny Raiders. The coolest group of gamers that I know. And I could do a lot of hashtag FFs, which some people call Friday follows. I call friend follows because I'll do them whatever the hell I want. But a big shout out to a big hashtag FF to Mech Fasal. He's done a lot of the art for My Name is Bife and all his lore, and he's done some of the artwork for Destiny Raiders, and he's done my header image, and he is pretty much Photoshop master. You find something that needs memed or photoshopped, it's done in like 5 seconds. I'm pretty sure he has Photoshop directly connected to his neural cortex. Anyway, so give me a follow, give us a follow, and if you want to contribute, hit me up, or you know what, even better, just record something and post it, and I'll rename it and add it to the podcast, because I got approved now. I'm on SoundCloud, Google Play, YouTube, all of it. And it's all amazing, and hopefully you like my intro music. Maybe someday someone will make some cool intro music. But I think the outro is going to be, in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to one another and party on, dude. Uyghur out.